Guys, welcome back to Southern Extreme TV. If you guys have been keeping up with the channel, you guys know that I have gotten a new deer hunting rifle for this 2019 season. It is the Savage High Country in a 308 Winchester. Beautiful, beautiful gun. I've done some things to it, added a nice little muzzle brake to it from Hancock Armory, but the number one thing that I've done to this rifle is I have added a TRACT toric scope on it. This scope is a 3x15 power scope, and what is cool about this scope is it uses shot glass technology. Now some of you guys might not be familiar with that, but what shot glass is, it is the actual glass that a lot of these really high-end scope manufacturers use. It's the type of glass that they put inside here. So your really expensive scopes that are out there on the market, they all use that same type of glass. They all use it. That's the standard for your high-end, top-end scopes, and this scope has it in there. I'm not going to do a full product review for you guys today because I'm still doing some testing on it. So right now what I really want to do is I want to give you guys my first initial impressions of putting it on the gun, sighting it in, and overall look, feel, and what I think about it in general as of right now. Once I do a little more testing and I get a little more comfortable with it, I'll do a full product review for you guys and actually show you guys how well this scope does on this gun. So the first thing I want to talk about obviously is going to be the appearance of it. The scope itself is actually a little different color than a lot of the scopes that are out there on the market. I think Sig Sauer came out with a scope that was similar in color. It's almost like a matte gray style finish. But the good thing about it is I honestly was a little worried when I was looking at it online that it might be a little too bright. It might look like almost a kind of shiny stainless steel color whenever it got here, but it didn't. It's almost got that matte, that real matte look, so it's not shiny and it's got a good color, and it goes hand in hand with the finish on this Savage High Country. So first of all, it's a little different looking, but once you actually get it, it is a very nice finish, and you can tell that it's quality made. So that's the first initial impression straight out of the box of it. The next thing is obviously I'm going to check the clarity of it. And the reticle that I decided to go with, TRACT actually makes two different reticles that will go in here. They make a BDC, which is a bullet drop reticle, and they have a lot more details on their website that will go into a little more detail exactly about that type of reticle. But for what I went with the T-Plex reticle, which is what you guys would consider to be your normal Joe Blow reticle. The one cool thing about this reticle though is the top line is a little bit thinner than your horizontal lines and your bottom vertical line, which is really cool. And the reason that I like that is I think it allows you to find your target a little bit easier, and it definitely, from what I can tell from shooting targets, it helps you get on target in low light conditions a little bit faster. It helps you pick up that target and helps you get on with the crosshairs a lot faster. So I'm really excited about it. As far as the reticle, I'm pleased. I would not change back to the bullet drop reticle. If I had to choose, I would go back with the T-Plex. The reason that I chose this specific scope, TRACT makes several different scope lines. They make one that's real big, and it's real fancy, and I'm sure it is absolutely gorgeous. But what I really wanted to go for is I wanted a do-it-all, no nonsense, go everywhere scope and gun, and that's what I was really trying to build when I was putting this gun together and setting it up with the scope and the muzzle brake. I wanted a gun that I could take out west. I could go elk hunting if I ever had the opportunity to do that. I could take it out and go mule deer hunting. Obviously I can take it whitetail hunting here. I could take it predator hunting. You name it, I could do it. And that's what this scope is built around. The number one thing, or not the number one thing, but another cool thing is it has a side parallax adjustment, which is really cool. A lot of these scopes that you're seeing on the market that's not, $2,000 and $3,000, they're putting the parallax adjustment out here on the end, which I'm not a fan of that because I just don't like it for whatever reason. I think it being on the side is a little easier to get to, especially if you're on the gun. You're able to get over here and adjust that dial a little bit easier. The cool thing about this parallax adjustment is it even locks in place, which this is the first one that I've ever seen that does this. So you can see here that I can't can't twist it, but when you pull that out, it allows you to turn it, and then you can adjust your parallax. And once you get it to where you want, you can mash it in, lock it in place, and it doesn't go anywhere. So for me, I like to leave it at 100 yards because typically that's where I'm going to be shooting at here in North Carolina, anywhere from 50 to 150 yards. So I like to set it right in that middle ground, which will kind of cover the entire ballpark for me. So that's something that's really cool about it. The next thing I want to talk about, which is probably, in my opinion, the coolest thing about this scope from TRACT Optics, is they give you a turret kit. Now, remember whenever I said that I wanted to build a rifle that I can do absolutely everything with, and in order to have a rifle that I can do any and everything with, you got to have a scope that can do that. So on the scope, out straight from the factory, out of the box, it comes with a typical turret that you would see on any normal Joe Blow rifle. It does have a return to zero on the original turret. So essentially, once you dial it over however many clicks and you're zeroed, you can release the screw, pull the turret up, turn it to zero, set the turret back down, and then tighten your screw back up, and then it's on zero. But it does not have a zero stop. But what TRACT does is, for somebody like myself, it may be like you, is they actually include a separate turret kit that has a return to zero function and has a zero stop. That is huge that it has a zero stop. The reason that you want it to have a zero stop is because, again, I want it to be a do all, hunt everything, shoot everything scope. So if I'm out in the field, maybe I get the opportunity to go out west, I'm going elk hunting, and I know that at 450 yards I need to be X amount of clicks. Well, let's say I make those adjustments. I make the adjustments wherever I got to make it to. Well, let's say those elk booger or something happens and they run to me and they're now at 150 yards or something crazy happens, and I know that I don't need those adjustments. I can go all the way back and it stops at zero every single time. So wherever I zeroed my scope in at, and this gun is zeroed at 100 yards, if that is the zero, I can set it exactly to there and it will not go past that, which is huge to me. That is something that a lot of scopes don't have. A lot of these scopes nowadays, in this scope's price range, it has a zero function, which means that you can reset the turret so that it shows you the number zero there, but it will spin both ways. So essentially, let's say you get into the field and something happens and you spin it one whole rotation around, well, you can spin it all the way back to zero and you have no idea if you're on or not. And it's very confusing if you're making long range shots. It's confusing to get back to your home zero setting. But they supply you a turret kit so that on this scope, if you want to have that functionality, you can, which is huge. I'm so glad that they do that, and they include that with the purchase of the scope. Another thing that I like about that turret kit that they send you is it is not an exposed turret. Now, some of you guys may bash me on this, and the reason being because I know a lot of guys that need to make those quick elevation adjustments. If you're out hunting mule deer, elk, whatever it may be, you want to be able to make those really quick adjustments and not have to worry about a cap. But again, this is a do-all scope, so I'm clumsy, okay? And I beat and bang my stuff all over the place. So the number one thing that I'm worried about is getting up into a tree stand after I lug my 60 pounds worth of camera gear up there, climb over 3 or 4 barbed wire fence, whatever it may be, and I get up there and this thing gets spun, you know, 10 or 12 clicks and I don't know it. Deer comes out at 100 yards and I shoot straight over his back without my knowledge. Yes, I probably should have checked to make sure that it was still on because it's an exposed turret and anything can happen, but I want to eliminate as many possibilities of having an error in the field as possible. So they do supply you with a turret cover, which is awesome. I utilize it. You have the ability to where you don't have to if you really and truly don't want to, because again, it has the zero stop function and this turret kit has a lock button. So essentially, to be able to make your adjustments, you can see here, I try to turn left, try to turn right, nothing happens. What you're gonna have to do is pull up. You'll hear a very loud audible click, and then at that point you can make your precise dial, and you can hear how crispy that is. Shh. God, how nice is that? And then I go all the way back to 0 and it stops at 0 every single time. Ooh, about knocked the camera over. And it stops at 0 because that's how I have it set. Once it's back on 0, that's where I want it. I put my turret cap back on, and I know that my clumsy self is not gonna do anything to knock that turret off climbing in and out of the deer woods. So that is probably the #1 reason that I decided to go with this scope, is for the simple fact that they did supply me with that turret kit that allows me a full range of ability whenever it comes to shooting this weapon. Again, if you're going out elk hunting, mule deer hunting, whatever it may be, and you want to take that cap off, take it off, put it in your pocket, you've got that exposed turret right there, and it's ready to rock and roll. So again, just so nice that they included that. Going back to the clarity of this scope, guys, again, using the shot glass technology that they've got inside this scope, it is crystal clear. And when I say it's crystal clear, I mean that I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to compare this scope to probably any scope that I have looked through that is a 3 to 15 power or similar, that has a typical 1-inch tube body. The clarity is that good that I would put it up against any other scope that I've looked through. And that's not just me bullcrapping, you guys. This is one of the clearest scopes that I've ever looked through. And I'm not gonna lie, the one negative that I do have about this scope is that it is a typical 1-inch tube body. I really wish that it was a 30mm tube, and the reason being is because it does allow for a lot more light to get into the tube, and it allows you to get a couple extra minutes worth of shooting light out of that scope versus this. But I have not been able to tell that much of a difference so far between this tube and a 30mm tube that I have on one of my other guns. I took them out, I looked side by side in them, and I could not tell that big of a difference. Now, when it comes deer season and it comes down to the nitty gritty stuff, I may have a different opinion, and that's why I'm waiting to give you guys a full review, because I don't want to tell you guys, oh yeah, this tube body is going to give you everything that you're looking for, because it might not, and I don't want to lie to you guys. But for right now, the testing that I have done on it, it's clear and it draws in light, which is phenomenal. I can't be happier. So I guess my initial impressions of this scope is it hit the nail on the head, guys. I set out with a goal in mind. I wanted a scope that would do absolutely any and everything that I wanted it to do, and this scope is it. It's covered all the bases for everything I wanted. I wanted a top quality scope that has a lifetime warranty, that had clear glass, top of the line glass, which it does, waterproof, fog proof, has a side parallax adjustment, has a return to 0 function and a 0 stop function, and also give me a turret protector or a turret cap that goes on there. Do you know how hard it is to find a scope that has all of those boxes checked off? Honest to God, I've never found one other than this one. If there's one out there, it's probably $3,000 or $4,000, and that's way out of my budget because I don't have that many subscribers on YouTube. I don't make that kind of money. But for the price range on this scope, for the quality and the stuff that you get so far, I'm giving this thing a 10 out of 10, guys. Like I said, this is my initial impression of it. Once I do some more testing and once I take it out into the field and use it a little bit more, I'll give you guys a full review, and I'll take you guys to the gun range and show you guys exactly how this gun and how this scope paired up can perform. I'm super excited about it, guys. I can't wait to show you guys, or take you guys along with me in the field and hunt with this gun this year. I think we're going to put a good deer on the ground, and I'm super pumped about it. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed these product reviews. I know some people think they're kind of boring, some people enjoy them, but I know if I'm in the market looking for something specific, especially a good all-around scope on my gun, I go straight to YouTube and I start looking for people doing these type of reviews. So hopefully this helped you guys out. If you've never heard of TRACT Optics, go and check out their products. They make top quality optics, guys. They make binoculars and scopes and all different kinds of stuff, and they're all top quality. So go check them out. Let them know that you've seen the video here on Southern Extreme TV, and that's how you found out about the company. And I'll be seeing you guys in the woods coming up in the future. Make sure you hit that subscribe button in the top left corner if you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you guys next time.